Hey, back at it again. Love is Blind UK Season 2, Episode 7 review. Episode 7 is entitled You're Trying to Get Me in Trouble. In this episode, Katisha and Javin are headed to his house. Kieran and Megan enjoy a date where they're dancing. Billy and Ashley says she is overwhelmed. Um, Ashley is overwhelmed by the way that he eats. Ashley shared that she was bullied uh, for her weight and that she developed a relationship with food that wasn't really healthy, and she decided to put on weight and it improved her confidence. And Jed meets Barda's best friend, and she asks immediately, is it love or lust? And Barda said it's love for her. She wants Barda to be happy, but she thinks that it may be a red flag that they haven't had any conflict yet. So they don't know how they would be able to resolve conflict together. So Rover and Cal says she's the oldest, and because she's the oldest, she feels pressure to get things right. She said that her mom is concerned, but Cal is confident that things will improve, when they meet, her mom. Because, at this point, so Rover keeps getting messages from her mom and or was expressing her concerns, and it was causing her some anxiety. And now Katisha goes to Javin's house. Um, he doesn't look like he said that he doesn't like duvets, which is basically like comforters, that he prefers a blanket, and they are trying to align their schedules together. And just my thoughts is that the relationship is very surface and has no substance. They don't seem to have like a strong emotional connection. Um, Karen and Megan talk about marriage and having cute ginger babies with dimples because Megan is the ginger. Billy and Ashley talk about meeting his dad and that treat his dad, give his dad plenty of treats, and I'll be his best friend for life. And that also applies to Billy's dog. In the pods, if you guys remember, Billy and Ashley did bond over having, dogs. They're dog people. Javin meets, Katisha meets Javin's mom and his sister. Uh, Javin's mom, Carmen, and his sister Danielle. And Danielle is shocked that she's been planning because she said she's been planning a wedding for 18 months, which is a year and a half, and that he's the baby of the family, and that he does have issues being vulnerable. He did have a football's dreams, however, it failed, and at that point, it did crush him. Danielle is learning all of this from, uh, no, Katisha's learning all of this from Danielle, Javin's sister, older sister, and then it worries her that he's not being vulnerable because she never knew this about him, which is what I was reiterating, saying in my thoughts earlier. I think their relationship is very surface. There's not a strong emotional connection because why wouldn't she know this about him? Um, Ashley meets Billy's dad and his dog Ollie. Um, they are they're both aware of each other's love languages and the way that they communicate. He's worried that the first 6 months will be long distance because, you know, uh, Megan's job being cabin crew, which is basically a stewardess or a flight attendant, um, in America. Barda is preparing to go meet some of the people from the pod squad, and Cal jokes with Sarover about, seeing other women and turning their heads. Kieran talks to Javin and asks, can you marry someone that you, and he asks, Kieran, can you marry someone that you don't love? And basically says that, Katisha and Javin haven't shared I love yous yet. Um, and Javin says he sees a future with her, but he doesn't love her yet. Um, so Katisha's mom, and so at this point, we're back with Sarover and Cal. Sarover's mom, you know, has fears about, the experience. She keeps expressing her fears about the experiment with her daughter, with Sarover. Patrick enters, um, and Billy said he felt it in his plea, um, and that it felt like that he said Patrick and Anu, if feeling like friendship vibes. Anu and Megan hug and they scream. Anu screams and doesn't hug, you know, she doesn't hug Patrick. He's like, what about him and his spinal rectum? Like, girl, it's spleen. But that was so funny. The ladies convince her to have a talk of closure with Patrick, but she blows up calling him, "You're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar." She even starts singing at one point. And according to Storytime with Ricky, y'all check her out and her podcast as Reality Receipts podcast. They do great reality TV recap reviews. That we're saying that a lot of clips something must have been cut out of the pods. Because out of nowhere she escalates by saying he's a liar. Javin and Anu are laughing. Uh, we're laughing at the bar. Then Charlie enters, followed by Yolanda, and Anu is laughing, acting, you know, asking, asking Javin, is he interested? Then Ross B comes in, Damola comes in, and Damola greets Javin, and they have a conversation. Damola basically said it's a blessing in disguise. Anyone that who is so fickle to pick someone else in 24 hours, basically the way Katisha did, switching her mind in 24 hours, really shouldn't be trusted, and it's not someone you can really rely on. Then Sophia comes and told Megan, would you let your man, leave the house with a jacket like that? Basically Sophie was giving hater vibes. And so Sophie greets Charlie and Megan. Karen says that she's attractive. And Charlie's like, wow, Sophie's hot. And Sophie gives Katisha a hug. So Rover and Megan. Sophie comments on, again, her saying, why are you letting Karen wear a jacket like that? Obviously, Sophie was hating on Karen's jacket. Javin then admits to talking to Sophie. Apparently, I think Javin and Sophie may have had a connection in the pods that we didn't, as the audience, weren't privy to it, we didn't see it. Then Anu talks to Patrick. She feels like, that the experiment was taken from her because he didn't reassure her with his words, and that she should have said earlier in the process if he wasn't interested. Uh, Yep. And she said that there would have been no joy if there was a marriage. And she calls him, again, this is the part where she calls him a liar repeatedly, and even saying she's a liar. Then he said, and it sounded real shady, well, Patrick said, it's nice to finally hear you sing. And he's glad. Patrick was like, he's glad that they're not together. She even shaded his outfit. You see here, like, he was wearing a do rag, and to her point, the do rag did not match the outfit. So Karen speaks to Sophie and thanks her for being a part of the process and the experiment. Karen apologizing for gifting Megan, and making Sophie feel rejected and like that she was the second choice. I told the ladies that Yolanda and Katisha talk about Javin and being, meeting her family. Sophie and Javin were talking, and he was being really flirty and laughing at the bar. And then 1 hour later, Katisha and Javin have dinner, and she's calm. She said, and she was saying that Sophie. They were talking about Sophie, and she said that Sophie is funny and she has good banter. And Javin ends up going out to meet up with his friends back at the bar. All right, so y'all come back for season 2, Love is Blind UK, episode 8. I hope you're enjoying the reviews, and don't forget to tune into the reunion Sunday, August 31st, 4 p.m. Eastern on Netflix.